we're also in our own, dare I say, bubble in a way, because artists are an interesting niche that is so needed. I sometimes, even though I've been doing this for 30 years, I still sometimes catch myself being like, hello, Tony. Most of the world, 98% of the world, does not look at the world from through the artistic lens, wanting to
Interesting.
come to a class and express our feeling and
Yeah.
share our terror and our joy and our love
Mhm.
and our humility, and just express it and lean into it and
Mhm.
talk about it. Like, we show up for work and we're like, yeah, I'm gonna feel today, right? So like, but
Yeah.
that's not how. And I would argue that that's also not, so that's not even how most of the world operates, but also I would argue that's also how the entertainment business,
Yeah.
the business, doesn't operate that way either. The
Agreed.
fact that we see beautiful work being done that connects to our heart and soul and
Mhm.
reminds us about our humanity, I think more and more is becoming the outlier.
Welcome to the Bridge Podcast, a podcast featuring heart-centered leaders, artists, healers, speakers, and creatives who are leading a new paradigm through their own personal embodiment. Join us to explore the evolution of humanity that we see happening on our planet and how the intersection of art and humanity may be the key to having a new experience on Earth, as we individually and collectively choose to align with a greater peace, unity, harmony, and unconditional love in our everyday lives. Together, we will explore inspiring, insightful, and healing conversations that tap us into the artist within, empower us to be the conscious creators of our reality, and amplify the world we want to see by coming home to our own divinity. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the Bridge Podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. Today's episode is such a good one. I had the best time sitting down with Anthony to talk all about the industry, the arts, what it's like to be a human and a creative during this time, and some of the ways that we can maybe step into this new era with a really clear mind and heart, an idea of what we want to create going forward. Anthony has been such an inspiration for me on my journey as an artist and as a human, and I'm so excited that he said yes to come on here and share his wisdom and his experience within the arts and his perspective on life. We did have a little audio and technical issue, so I hope that that doesn't affect you too much as you're listening. It's not until about the last 20 minutes where it sounds a little bit different, and I wasn't able to figure out how to fix the audio given that it was recorded on a different platform. So I hope that you can listen to the wisdom and receive the magic past that little challenge and enjoy this episode. Every time I listen to it, I get more inspired, and it reminds me why I want to make art and what I care about as a human being, and that it's so much more powerful and worthwhile when we walk this path together. We all have a unique perspective to share, and I think that Anthony is one of the best at being able to pull this magnetism, this authenticity, and this creative gift and true power from within each artist that he works with, or simply any human that he gets to connect with. Much like life, the creative process of making this podcast had its challenges, but we moved through them with grace and heart and came out stronger with a really beautiful message. So I hope that it serves you today. In this episode, we talk about what it means to be an artist in today's world, the power of how we see ourselves and how that impacts our art, the role and importance of art in evolutionary times, the mirror of life and creativity, reclaiming our energy and our story, honoring who we are becoming by creating the art that we want to see in the world, how play and joy transforms our work, using our art as an expression of all of it, and a new empowering view and era for the entertainment industry. We also discuss self-doubt and what holds us back from being in our authenticity, redefining what success looks like, having a healthier relationship with social media, and the power of the present moment. Anthony Meindl is an award-winning writer and director. He is the guest directing lecturer at David Lynch's Masters in Filmmaking Program in Iowa, and also has taught at the prestigious Moscow Art Theatre, the Gaiety Theatre, Dublin, the Danish National School of Performing Arts, the Actors Centre, London as well as Berlin, Rome, Helsinki, Brussels, Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland, New Zealand, Honolulu and Suva, Fiji, and has had acting studios in 12 cities all over the world, including New York, Atlanta, and Vancouver, during his last 25 years in the business. As a director, his feature film, Where We Go From Here, premiered at Outfest, won Best Screenplay at Q Films Long Beach and the Jury Award at New York City's East Village Queer Film Festival, and was acquired by Hulu. His short films have played everywhere, including the Provincetown International Film Festival, the Dumbo Film Festival, Santa Cruz Film Festival, and won a number of awards, including Best Short Film. He is in post-production on his latest feature called Memento Mori that explores the climate crisis with interlocking love stories that take place all over the world. The production filmed in Namibia, South Africa, India, Greece, Taiwan, and Canada last year. As an actor, he performed at the legendary Hollywood Bowl and can be seen on Jack Whitehall's Netflix hit show Travels with My Father. He was a guest judge on Armenia's Got Acting Talent. He is the author of 5 creative acting books, including the best-selling At Left Brain Turn Right. The script for his upcoming feature film, The Wonder Girls, was the grand prize-winning feature screenplay in the Slam Dance Film Festival competition. All of that to say, Anthony has had a lot of experience in the industry and has had a lot of beautiful opportunities to share his work, his art, and his unique creative imprint on the world and in the entertainment industry. So let's get to the episode. I hope that it inspires you. Let's dive in. Welcome, Anthony, to the Bridge podcast. You are somebody that I really, really look up to. You're a mentor, a dear friend in my life. You're an artist that I'm so inspired by. And I'm so grateful that you took the time to sit down and have this conversation, because I know that there is so much value and so much wisdom that you can share when it comes to being an artist, being a human, and where those two intersect. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. No pressure. I mean, I hope I deliver.
No,
I
no,
mean,
no.
oh my gosh.
Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself for anyone who doesn't know you? A little introduction. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came to be who you are today.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just try to give you the really brief Cliff Notes version. I mean, I've been in the entertainment business for like, I don't know, over 30 years. I started my first acting studio here in LA 28 years ago. Jesus. And, now we have schools all over the world. It's been like an organic, beautiful, synergistic journey of like, I think helping people understand this um, juncture where like art and the business, because it's all of it, um, and creativity and maybe a new way of thinking about what it means to be an artist in this new age
Yeah.
and spirituality, but not woo-woo spirituality, but like really brass tacks, like trying to live I think maybe using our art as an expression of all of it is to me what I'm interested in, like the holistic experience of what it means to be an artist. It's not just specific to a job or a booking or calling yourself an actor. I always say it's like the way you view the world, and it's what you're curious about and how you've moved through the world. So I guess that's kind of what I've been teaching and been passionate about for 30 years, and I keep
Yes,
going.
yes, yes, yes.
Did that explain it?
Oh
I
my
don't have I
gosh.
have no canned responses. It's really always in the moment for me. It's about being in the moment, you
Yeah.
know.
Absolutely. And that's what I value so much about you and about AMAW. For anyone who doesn't know the school, I went back in 2017 for a
I know
couple
you
of
were like a
years.
teenager,
I
right?
know.
When
It
we
was
first
like
met.
so many years ago now,
Oh,
almost 10
wow.
years ago. So
Jesus.
it's been a journey, and that was the perfect introduction, because this podcast actually birthed from, for me, the experience of growing up as a dancer and as a performer, and then going into acting and singing after I graduated more was really fun, but it was really difficult for me because I felt like I could not quite access the full spectrum of myself. I could not quite open myself up to story the way I wanted to. And I really struggled with that. I had a lot of self-doubt, a lot of self-criticism, like just a lot of judgment around why I was having a hard time with that. And what I did was really step away and go on a self journey, spiritual journey, a healing journey, and really learn what was missing for me. What did I need to access that, to access more of myself? Because I resonated, every cell of my being was alive in those spaces. I always felt like I was going to shit myself when I went to acting school, but it was the best time. And I always had the best time and learned so much and felt so much resonance. So, this podcast was my way of figuring out, okay, how do I bridge the arts and this human spiritual journey that I've been on? Because to me, they seemed like separate worlds, but obviously they're
Uh-huh.
not. They're not at
No.
all. They're mirroring each other. So, what have you found working with artists all this time to be that thing that kind of holds us back from being in the moment? What is the challenge that you often see? Is there like a common one for people?
I mean, I think it's changed over the years. I mean, I still think from like an individual perspective, I think it's about our self-consciousness, our self-judgment,
Yeah.
about comparing like the idea of what it looks like or what who we should be. A lot of it is shame based in terms of like our own the way we see ourselves is often clouded by our own shame of, just our own humanity
Yeah.
and the things that we've overcome and sort of the narratives that we've created since we were kids that are based around shame. And like, I think those things really inhibit a full sense of self-expression. So it's trying to get people to reclaim that which was maybe taken away from them. And this is not about blaming. This is not about,
Yeah.
because I think part of the journey, and what I always talk about, Chelsea, is it's so interwoven that the very thing that you think that each person thinks that if they didn't have, they would be right? Like if I
Yes.
didn't have blank, I would be like a superstar or whatever. But it's not constructed that way. The very thing that you feel is your kryptonite is your superpower, but learning how to navigate on the journey through it, with it, carrying it along with you, taking it out and sharing it, I think talking to it and helping you create a different relationship around it so that it can actually be a force of good. But we often don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We beat
Yes.
ourselves up for the things that we feel like are, I don't know, are defects. And the defects are what make you beautifully you. So
Mhm.
that I think that's for each individual at some level. There is
Yeah.
a judgment of around our self-expression. And then I do think over the years culturally, because of the goddamn
Mhm.
big tech infiltration of social media and
Mhm.
the bombardment of media and imagery overall has also, I think, made it like a double helix of um, disconnect in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole other thing, but it's really, I find it, I'm railing against it all the time, and I find it very upsetting that
Mhm.
we're more and more, I think, retreating into this made up world online that isn't real. It's just not real. And
Right.
we keep giving energy to it like it is. Like, okay, fans are bought, they're paid for. Fans are bots, B-O-T-S, but also bought. Like the transactional aspect of that space is
Yeah.
based on something that I don't know. It's just a curation of something.
Mhm.
It's so that's maybe a bigger rabbit hole we can go down, but
Yeah.
yeah. Can I just say also, because like I'm not, when I'm talking about that, I'm just talking about the infiltration of the messaging where we compare ourselves to the curation of our life would be blank again
Yes.
if we look like this, or we had 10 billion followers, or I had a brand deal or an endorsement of like, epic proportions. And yet those things we know even before social media, like happiness and creativity isn't found in things. It's just not. And that's the big aha. It's in creating and expressing. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being a creator slash influencer. I work with lots of them, and they're doing really original, creative work. However, I also have found a theme that they also suffer from burnout. They also suffer from having to constantly the very thing that they did originally because they were really joyful about doing it has become a machine that they have to keep feeding because their followers will leave them if they don't keep doing the same thing in a way. And
Right.
then I think they suffer a bit from, well, they're not the same person they were when they were 17. And we change as artists, right? And as people. And so what is the story that they want to tell now doesn't always align with what they built their brand around, and then they feel like beholden to that. And I think it creates a lot of, um, I think a lot of challenges for influencers to try to, and this is why also a lot of them, I didn't finish my sentence there, but about who they're becoming as
Mhm.
opposed to who they were.
Yeah.
And the last point about that is in my working with them, they're all wanting to do more. Um, they're wanting to express themselves as actors in a way beyond the social media platform allows them. So I think it's interesting, right? So they're using their platform as a way in, and yet they're having to learn a whole different skill set to move beyond the way that they've been identified.
Right.
It's really tricky.
Yeah, yeah, it's something that, we're up against a little bit, but like you always say, it's an opportunity. What we believe is in the way is actually the way, which is one of my favorite quotes as well and has helped me so much in my life. And for me, one of the ways that that kind of manifested was I actually came to believe that arts were in the way of what I was somehow arbitrarily supposed to be doing in other ways in my life. And I just always would come back to art is the way, like expression is the way, creating is
That's right.
the way, it's always the way. And one thing that I do in my own life is if I was, on camera right now while I'm putting cream on my face or I'm sitting outside reading or whatever, it's like, how would I show up and do this in this moment if that thing that inspires me was happening right now? And I use it as this mirror, as an opportunity to relax more into who I am, to practice being in the moment, to explore my own expression and uniqueness. And doing that in life helps us doing it in our work if you're an artist and you want to do things that way, but in anything that you do, right? So being able to kind of merge those worlds more, I think is what has helped me find fulfillment because then I think it's not about this destination. It's not about getting a job and then that's the thing. Because I've had that proven many times in my life, whether it was going on trips to Bali or traveling the world or anything, having a podcast interview with someone that I'm inspired by. That's not the thing. It's having joy along the way. It's why I'm doing it. It's being able to bring myself to that and enjoy the journey. And then that just gets to be, if I want to be in a movie, that's just a thing I get to do. But it's one thing that gets put into the path in my life rather than this thing that I need to chase or hold on to. And also the freedom to let ourselves evolve and change and shapeshift and explore. And I think that needs to be the baseline when it comes to arts and creativity, because otherwise we're not coming from a place of truth and it's not sustainable, right?
Yeah, I mean, also, it's not sustainable, I think, for one's own mental health or journey of what it means to being an artist, but I also don't think it's sustainable environmentally. And, like,
Yeah.
from a climate crisis point of view, we're not really tracking, like, uh, the amount of energy that not even just you know, if we don't, the hidden carbon cost, let's say, of me watching Netflix all the time, we're not tracking it. Or now AI, like Chat GPT, like people don't realize, like, whoa, how much water it's using. It's just not sustainable. And so I don't think sometimes we really, again, I think like big tech's job is to distract us into living a virtual life.
Mhm.
Forget about the real life, forget about the tree outside my window and contemplating its existence and my connection to nature. They're
Yeah.
divorcing us from nature by going on to, again, a profile of something that I think is innately disconnecting.
Mhm.
I also think, like, one last thing about all what we're talking about is I also think it's interesting that we're living in an age too where every something doesn't exist unless you document it in some way.
I
But that's
hate it.
also not what being an artist is.
Yeah,
You know
or
what I mean?
human.
No, or human, you're right. But being an artist is also like you write in your journal, let's say, or I write things that maybe I don't need to share or have to share. But
Yeah.
in our digital, like voracious, that consumptive, like just machine. Like people, it doesn't exist if you don't document it. I'm so upset about the Blue Origin. Don't get me started because I just posted about it. They all went up to space, and it's like, yes, it's a step toward feminism. And it's just so ridiculous. I cannot even imagine seeing the Earth from that point of view. They were all taking selfies of themselves. They weren't even pondering like how minuscule and tiny we are in the big scope of the universe itself. Not to even mention planet Earth. You know what I mean? Chelsea, it's deranged. I feel like it's derangement. And we are heading, it's beyond the pale and we're heading to the bottom of like
Mm.
the ocean, I think. But I also find it interesting because it creates a wake-up call to maybe start to go more analog
Mm.
or start to get connected to things that are soul reviving and matter.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
again, that's all disposable, literally and figuratively.
yeah.
Doesn't mean anything. They're
Mm.
not really, that's like a joyride, a 10-minute joyride that costs billions of dollars and is destroying, again, the planet, like when other people can't even pay their bills. So I don't mean to be going off on that. We can edit this out, but
Oh, your
I think
expression
it's
is welcome.
I think it's important that
Yeah.
we are having these conversations. I mean, lots of people are.
Mm.
I,
Mhm.
the one good thing I'll say about social media is that we do have access to, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? Like we're bombarded with too much information, and it's been proven it's not our software, meaning our brain, is not equipped
Yeah.
to be processing as much data as we're getting. It's too much. And so there is the ramification of that, I think, is still to be seen, but I think we're seeing it. People's mental health is deteriorating.
Mhm.
But I do think it's great when you can log on and see other people who share the same outrage and upset around what is happening with culture. And then you don't
Yeah.
realize, then you feel like you're not alone and or going crazy because I thought, am I the only one that thinks this is ridiculous? And Katy Perry, I love Katy Perry, but Katy Perry saying, we're not just taking up space. We're creating new space for future generations. I'm like, girl, space is infinite. Yeah, you can't
That's
create something
funny.
that already exists. It's ridiculousness.
We are infinite. Space is
We are
infinite.
infinite.
You're right. You're
Oh,
right.
help me. I should have had a margarita before we started. Let's talk
Welcome
about,
to now. No,
let's talk about something else.
you said some really
Tell
great
me.
things in there. I think that social media and technology should be used to amplify our humanity and to connect us and to do good in the world, of course. And that is happening so much. And you mentioned the oceans. You're like, we're going to the bottom of the ocean. I just thought symbolically, the depths and how that leads to transformation, how that leads to new things. And there can be a lot of value in that, even though it seems crazy and chaotic sometimes. But that's definitely how I have come to be who I am today. And also with the podcast, what it means to me to be the bridge. It's not just about being an artist or being a creative. It's about how can I be the artist of a world that I want to see and put that first, be the kind of person that I want to see more of and help other people reach their full potential. And then if I want to create as an extension of that, amazing. But how do I want to leave an imprint on the world through my own journey? And like you said, writing in your journal is art, or anything you do day to day throughout the day is art. And for me, even how I move through my emotions, how I
Mhm.
get myself up in the morning sometimes, it's just how I move through life and have the courage when I feel like shit, for lack of a better word, is also art because we all do it in our own unique way. And that is what you bring to the work, right? So I think it all comes back to the beauty of our humanity and the simplicity and the innocence and coming back to play and coming back to what we seem to have forgotten, which nature is such a perfect reminder of. And I mean, on that note, where do you think that, to take it to a lighter place, where do you think that joy and play um, really comes in with the work and how it transforms the work?
Well, I mean, I think you kind of hit on it. You were talking about your podcast, and I think we create the thing we wish existed. right? Like, I think that's something really big that I'm always focusing on because your own interpretation of the world that you're living in is uniquely yours. And so to share that in some form, writing or producing or acting or singing or whatever expression you feel is the conduit of that, is yours. And it's your unique, I don't know, thumbprint on the world, I think. You know what I mean? And so I'm always trying to do that. I guess that's what I'm trying to encourage artists to do in their artistry is that they don't have to be anybody else but themselves but be that bravely. And that doesn't mean that's a risky way to work because you're still going to be rejected. You're still going to not get the job. You're still going to be question what it means to be an artist in, 2025. But I think there's no other way. Like we're
Yeah.
here to really help. I think also when we're I think profoundly creating the thing we wish existed in the world, when we have an instinct, an aha, a channeled idea, I think we're actually plugged into the universe, right? It's one verse. And so the idea of it being channeled through one person is greater because it's shared with all. And
Right.
you'd be surprised at how many hearts and minds it can touch. And so this is why I do like to talk about things that are provocative or
Mm.
because I think a lot of people, again, we sometimes are so siloed and we judge ourselves for thinking I must be mad thinking that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just finished a movie we're in post on about the climate crisis and
Hmm.
we shot all over the world last year and it takes place in Greece and Namibia and South Africa, and we shot in Canada and um, in India and Taiwan. And it's so international in scope, but also very simple and small. And I'm trying to create a love poem of planet Earth in the way that I best know how.
Yeah.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not a climate archaeologist. I'm not, a lawyer who works for climate justice, but I do feel that I want art to be a reflection of the reality that we're facing. That's what I think art is
Hmm.
supposed to be.
Mm.
So that's me creating what I wish existed.
Mm.
So I think we all have that power, but it's scary to do that. It's scary to step into this is me sharing something that I want to share, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting and it's very powerful. And as I'm as you're talking and I'm thinking that different things are coming to me, I'm like, am I crazy for thinking this or seeing it this way? Like it's so normal for us to feel that way. And one thing that I've learned is that I think sometimes our art is for us more than it's for others. And what I mean by that, of course it's for others. Of course it's also going to inspire and reach people because there's resonance, but I think it's more for us in a really deep way, right? And you said creating what you want to see in the world and what you're doing is so powerful and I'm going to get from what you create whatever I'm meant to get from it. And that's not in your control, right? That's that
Yeah.
the universal design is it's not up to you how people are going to take it, but you got to be authentic about what you feel and what you want to see. And for me, I would never say for you not to do that, but my perspective is slightly how can I create art that comes from the world I wish we had and bring it in through that art by becoming it first as a human being. And it's not that it's different than what you're doing, it's just a different perspective and access point, which is what art is. So that to me is just play. How can we be in that infinite space of curiosity and what could I create and how could I make that feel playful and fun and really change not only my life but others in the process potentially by how we show up to each moment and why we're showing up to those
Mm.
moments, right?
Well said, Chelsea. I mean, I think also what comes to mind is, yeah, it's not a selfish act to do it for self because that's
Yeah.
actually where art originates.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of to what you were talking about. I think as a culture, as society, and again, because of social media and the onslaught of just imagery, I think human beings en masse, like the overall population of human beings, is very suggestible and influenced by culture or
Yeah.
things or messaging. And I think most people, in my judgmental phases, I call them sheep people. Most people want to do what is being told to them to do,
Yeah.
and which is very scary when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's either an overt or subtle form of brainwashing.
Yeah.
Because to be a free thinker, to be a radical artist, to be a revolutionary, to be a spiritualist, to think outside conventional religion or something that's commercialized or the cult of capitalism really takes a tremendous amount of force because you're trying to pierce this sort of uh, what's my word, hypnosis that we're all under, myself as well. But I was talking to a student last night and he's like, he's much younger and his breakthroughs are coming around like, it's all a construct, isn't it? I'm like, yes, everything is a construct. I'm always, right? And we've all
Yeah.
drunk the Kool-Aid. I'm always like, Target. If I go to Target, I don't go to Target, but every now and then, but whatever. Target, it feels like a really real thing. It's a brick and mortar store, and we understand the bullseye and that really cute dog, and they have really great deals, and it's right down the street on La Brea Avenue, whatever. Target it feels like it's a real thing. But I
Mhm.
don't know, Target didn't exist 100 years ago. And
Yeah.
then if we keep pulling back even more in the 800 BC, I just like to use history to
Hmm.
help us see it's all made up. It's all made up.
Yeah.
And I get it, for civilization to thrive, I understand there has to be some form of a system. And I marvel at how much the world works considering the mayhem and chaos of like there's 8 billion people on the planet or whatever, you know what I mean? So and yet, how do we not drink the Kool-Aid of culture? How do we like be free thinking and break through the constructs? Again, this comes back to the first thing I said.
Mhm.
Constructs are also come from our own narrative as we progress on our journey
Yeah.
as developing children based on societal scripts. And then we take that on, and it takes bravery to break through. I'm not that thing which I have been told, or religion tells me, or, you know.
Yeah, the
So
only thing that's familiar really, because that's what you've
that's
known
right. That's what you
yourself to
grew up
be.
with.
Hmm.
That's actually literally what created the synapses in our brain. And
Yeah.
again, it's not to blame our parents because our parents were doing the best with what they could at
Yeah.
that time. But then you see that it becomes intergenerational, and then that's part
Mhm.
of our responsibilities to break the epigenetic line of,
Mhm.
whatever it seems to be a theme that your entire family tree has maybe, tried to overcome. I'm a
Mm.
child of immigrants, and so there is a very strong thread of like working hard, and
Mhm.
our value comes in working hard. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Really
for sure.
fascinating. Yeah.
For sure. That's a big one. And I'm curious from your perspective, how do we move through that? How do you access more of that, less of the familiar programmed self and more of that free thinking, creative, heart-centered, moment-to-moment play? What was your experience in accessing more of that for yourself? Because you're such a master at it now.
Well, no, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate it. I'm
Always
not,
learning, but
I am always learning and
yeah,
failing. You know what I mean? Here's the thing is I think
definitely.
it's important to remember we're going to fail. And failure is, again, it's part of the nut of success. It's part of like the acorn tree is embedded in the hard shell of the acorn nut, right? And so I think I love those. I know those parables sound so cheesy, but they're not, right? And breaking the nut is like breaking the veil or breaking a paradigm or leaning into, well, why am I looking at the world that way? Or why do I see myself that way? And how
Yeah.
we do it is, well, you're doing it. You share with people, and then you realize like, oh, other people, they understand that. Or an actor in class last night was talking about something that he's working on, or being a part of a process in your creative work that is about that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I teach. That's what my studio is about. It's like,
Yeah.
if I ask the actor, why are they holding themselves back? And then, of course, they always share, well, when I grew up, I was in a household that never yelled, or I was in a household that never had their feelings, or
Right.
right. And then that's
Right.
a simple, you you all of a sudden have the light bulb of, oh, okay, I just connected the dots. So
Yeah.
that's hard for me to express that part of myself. And as soon as I can work on expressing that part of myself, it's going to open up access to other realizations about myself and the world that I'm living in. So it's a really cool constellation
Yeah.
of accessing micro worlds, but I don't think we do it if we're not brave and like taking the risk, which then again, you will fail.
Yeah.
But the ultimate, I think the ultimate success is the breakthrough in your own understanding of who you are,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right?
And I was gonna take that to our relationship with our emotions, at least for me, has been, I mean, the key because there only is this moment too,
Yeah.
really. And when we think about the past or the future, in my experience, it's just something emotionally unresolved that's still in my body. And as soon as I process that and transmute that or neutralize that, I'm more in the moment. I'm more here. More of me is here. So if that's not the key, I mean, it definitely is one of them for me. And we practice that in life, every single day with everything that's arising for us. And for me, the relationship to my emotions, if I feel empowered by how I see my emotions, what their value is, how they serve my life, the infinite ways that I can respond to things, what I can create with that and my unique perspective, then I mean, you're free in that place, right? You're always
Yeah, that's
free in
right.
the moment if that relationship with yourself is solid. And I think it has to be, especially if you are in a position where more people are seeing you, more people are commenting on your art. Like you have to be so solid in being grounded in who you are and having a support system to keep that, foundation. Otherwise, we can just get knocked off so quickly, right? Which is
Yeah,
also human, but I think that's
yeah. I think
important.
also, I think Chelsea, it's also like obviously people who are listening to your podcast or people who know me, like we're also in our own, dare I say, bubble in a way because artists are an interesting niche that is so needed.
Yeah.
I'm never
I was
under, I
gonna
mean, to
say we're
me,
like
art,
inserted onto the planet for
that's
sure.
right. That is right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I sometimes, even though I've been doing this for 30 years, I still sometimes catch myself being like, hello, Tony. Most of the world, 98% of the world does not look at the world
Yeah.
from through the artistic lens, wanting to
Same.
come to a class and express our feeling and
Yeah.
share our terror and our joy and our love
Mhm.
and our humility and just express it and lean into it and
Mhm.
talk about it. Like we show up for work and we're like, yeah, I'm gonna feel today, right? So like, but
Yeah.
that's not how, and I would argue that that's also not, so that's not even how most of the world operates, but also I would argue that's also how the entertainment business,
Yeah.
the business doesn't operate that way either. The
Agreed.
fact that we see beautiful work being done that connects to our heart and soul and
Hmm.
reminds us about our humanity, I think more and more is becoming the outlier. It's
Hmm.
not the mandate from big streaming companies. They don't really care. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah. Yeah.
just like big tech. They are big tech now. They're all being run by big tech companies. They just want to churn and burn content. And that's okay. That's a part of it, but it's not
Yeah.
the things that I think about that have changed my life are things that like rocked me to my heart and core.
Right.
So I think we underestimate maybe I always say that everybody is an artist because to be human is art,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean people do it for a living or know how to articulate it because a lot of them don't have the agency or the resources to do it.
Yeah.
And so, they're just living paycheck to paycheck. Or so in many ways, it sounds like art is a luxury, but I don't mean it that way either.
Mm.
I just mean we're also caught again in a system that isn't really about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're in a capitalist society that's based on something far from art,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And you were talking about the industry not necessarily honoring the emotional process and
Creative,
all that
right?
stuff.
It's not always
Yeah.
creative. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I struggled to pursue it a couple of years ago. I mean, since I graduated really, which is 10 years now, I didn't feel like it was authentic for me to go into the industry as it was. It just something didn't feel right about it for me, so I found different ways to access that fulfillment and that creativity. And I think what I learned in that process was I'm actually really grateful that I didn't rush into doing that for the wrong reasons because it has me in such a different place. I'm grounded, my relationship with myself is different. My reason for creating it's the same as it was when that seed was planted when I was born, but it also has grown and expanded and amplified so much, and now I feel so rooted in that, and that's what I would want to take with me into even in the industry. It's not that I wouldn't work within it, but being able to decide what I want to do, what projects I would want to work on. I don't want to be in this hustling machine where I'm just going out for any job because I want to be able to bring my whole self to it. And I think that it is important to choose, what projects we want to be a part of and why. And that's a different way of approaching art, I think, than maybe the industry operates in some ways. What is your perspective on that? I'm super curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really beautiful that you've come to that realization. Also, when you're 18 and you have ideas about being in the business, it's a lot different than when you're 25.
Yeah.
I guess your question is what I think about. Like, I think, yes, when we're a teenager and we have aspirations of being in the business, there's a lot of, I think as we progress on the journey, we discover more about our own artistry and what being an artist really means. It's not the same for me now in my 50s as it was for me as I was 18. And to continue to make art and make the kind of art that I want to make, it becomes more refined. So similar to what you were just saying, yeah, you start to, saying no can be very powerful because you want your art to mean something that maybe a certain job doesn't represent,
Right.
or maybe it's not even so highfalutin. You get, I think sometimes we forget that it can be boring. Sometimes the industry itself is not, it seems so glamorous and exciting. But again, as you articulate your own artistry, you're doing jobs that don't elevate your feeling of being an artist. And so then there's the schism between the idea of it and what it actually is. And then there's sometimes a disruption, which is what it sounds like you've been going through, right?
Yeah.
And I also think just the mechanics and the challenges of being in the business today. I was reading yesterday, I don't watch the show, but this actress who's one of the leads on Cobra Kai on Netflix, she's been in the business for 20 years. And she said, I'm not going to do it anymore. I don't want to do it. But partly because the real trying to make something work out of the win isn't really enough of a payoff for her anymore.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know this person, so I haven't had I'm not quite sure all the things that generated this kind of realization for her, but she did say something at the end of the article I was reading. She's like, I have more power than I realized.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of speaks a little bit, maybe Chelsea, to how you feel and a lot of artists feel. It's like, I'm just a cog in the machine and the machine isn't very exciting to me. So what can I do?
Yeah. Yeah. And how can we create kind of our own world of what arts can mean and look like? And yeah, just be free to create what it is that really wants to move through us and not think that our, not just success, but our fulfillment and our life in general is in somebody else's hands. Because if you want to see something be different, I think the more strong that call is, the more we're responsible for creating it and becoming that solution to whatever we think this problem is. And not even that it's a problem, maybe other people enjoy it, but if it's not something that other millions of people enjoy, maybe we can create something new, right? And that is what being an artist is.
Can I just jump in and say one thing about that?
Yeah.
I think sometimes as artists and as actors, because we've struggled and we've worked really hard and we sometimes identify so strongly with the suffering of being an artist that we don't want to give that up, even if it doesn't kind of have the same meaning to us anymore. And I'm just encourage actors, you're not giving up. You're transitioning into a new beautiful phase of your life in which acting still may be a part of it. It's just, I think sometimes people don't want to give up on the dream because they're like, but that was my dream. But dreams change.
Yeah.
I think it's only, again, the saturation of media, again, it kind of rubs up against and creates the tension around, well, yeah, but if I see myself on TV, then I've made it. And that dream, even though the daily process for you to fulfill that dream isn't as fulfilling as maybe the dream used to be.
Yeah.
But it's such a strong hold on people sometimes, myself included.
Yeah, well, it makes me think of when I see things on social media, I need to reach through the technology and remember they have a whole life. What is their day like? What is their life?
Beautiful.
Who are
Yeah,
they as a person?
that's
And
right.
that reminds me that I'm in mine right now. So it's just a moment, it's just a photo, but what is your life every day, all day? And that's such an important point. And I think when it comes to creating, again, you have to be grounded in your life because even if you do a project, like the project will end. And if you do something else, it's going to end. So you want it to be a part of the dance and the magic, not the whole ass thing, because you lose yourself in that, right? And
That's right.
that's the whole case.
That's
We're really just
beautiful.
looking for more of ourselves
Right,
always.
right.
So why don't we put that first and then see where that leads us so the art can be an extension of who we are, not something that we need to, you know, be worthy or be enough, which I know you also talk about.
Yeah, I think, something just popped in my, I mean, that was really beautiful. You said you have to reach beyond the image to get the whole view
Yeah.
of the human being, right? Something came to me, but now it's gone because then another thought came to me is I also think like for a lot of us, the dream factory is real.
Yeah.
And the dream factory is a real it's called a dream factory for a reason, and we don't realize like how it penetrates through to our pores sometimes and is making decisions for us even if
Yeah.
we no longer it's through identification, like have to break
Totally.
identity, and
Yeah.
breaking identity through any aspect of being human is difficult. I'm not just
Yeah.
a son or a dad or a brother or
Yeah.
a gay man, or what are identities, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we are in an identifiable obsessed culture, and again, that's another construct we have to break through. If you look at like
Yeah.
trans rights, it's very difficult for trans people because they represent something that isn't so monolithically identified as. That's why
Yes.
it's very confronting for people who don't
Yeah.
understand the binary. It has to be this or that. So that's a
Yeah.
really interesting distinction. But the other thing I was going to say too, Chelsea, is I also think a lot of times as we progress on our journey, we realize like, well, wait, maybe the reason I wanted to be an actor or to be an artist wasn't a pure reason. I wanted to
Yeah.
do it to be famous, or I did it so that my dad would love me, or I did it because I wanted to be popular, or I didn't love myself. So if somebody else would accept me, I would love myself more, or I suffer from perfectionism and me making it is again, a form of self-identity sort of,
Mhm.
realization, you know what I mean? Of like, oh, I'm the thing that I always thought that I could become in that way. I think
Mhm.
we have to move past sometimes the reasons why we're doing it. And even though that's scary, a real artistry can be born out of that. Like the real reason you do it,
Mm.
you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I love this point, and it makes me emotional to think about this because I've felt that way, and what I did was I judged it and I made it wrong, and I cut myself off from the
Exactly.
arts completely. And I think that if we do that, if we invalidate even the wounded reasons why we wanna be famous or be artists, then you're also completely cutting yourself off from your magic because the wound and the light and the magic and the challenge are all the
That's
same
right. It's
thing, they're
all
just different
interconnected.
perspectives. So
Yeah.
how can we even, you know, be so gentle with ourselves and be artists even in how we see our own experience and treat ourselves and our emotions and move towards the things that we love from a healthy place, whatever that is for you. And that's gotta be on the forefront, I think, in order to access the uniqueness that you are. And when it comes to identity too, I think we have a divine blueprint, we have who we are when we feel our best and when we're thriving and when we're grounded and centered and just connected to that universe. And so you're an infinite expression. And I think if we identify with that, that can really carry us in a different way than an idea. And same
Mm.
with our dreams. You have an idea of what your dreams were, but maybe you've now become the person living them. So the dream doesn't exist in your mind anymore. It's actually your life. So how are you going to live it now that it's showing up? I think about that all the time. It's real. The universe is like, okay, here's an opportunity, explore, play, like feel it out. Is this what you want? What do you want to change? And again, I don't have to be one thing. I can be an actor and I can be a healer and I can be a coach and I can write and you can do whatever you want, right? You can do it all. And
Well,
it's
I
just a
also
different
sometimes
perspective.
I sometimes think too, like if I had been born in a different region or a different country, by a different set of parents, or just even like 20 years before I was born, or even a decade
Yeah.
before, who's to say I would even still have this same
Yeah.
like calling, you know what I mean? So
Exactly.
I find it to be a lot more fluid and flow state than, again, the dream factory, I think, cultifies us a little bit in believing like once I get that thing, all my X is going to be fulfilled. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm going to
Yeah.
be happy and have everything I ever wanted, and all the jobs are going to keep flowing, and we just know that's not true. And that doesn't mean
Yeah.
that I don't want people to pursue it, because I have worked with many people who have broken through. But I
Yeah.
also think a lot of them also struggle with, wait, is this it?
Yeah,
I mean, Viola
exactly.
Davis talks about that, and Viola Davis is as great and as big as they come. She said I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but she said, for so long she wanted to be invited to the party, and then when
Yeah.
she broke in and was at the table with all these, at the party, she was like, this is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Chelsea, I have this theory that it's not just our business. Being an adult is high school. It's like Groundhog's Day over and over again. It is. And I actually think
I
our
hear
business is
you.
maybe the worst, but I think every business
Yeah.
has this. You just want to get in to be with the popular group. You want to be received and adored and receive the adulations and the applause from, like, the mean girls and the jocks who bullied you, or the cool people. And then you're there and you're like, what the hell? It's a little bit like that. We
Yeah,
can't escape high school.
it can be, and I think I like to bring, that's why I like to bring the healing to the forefront, 'cause I'm like, what kind of artist can I be if I'm not carrying these wounds into my work
Yeah,
in a toxic way or in an
yeah.
unhealthy way? What on that topic, what do you think is the value of artists in, creating what we do want to see in the world and coming from that place of authenticity? What do you think that that could do in best case scenario for the planet in these changing times?
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is a great question to end on, right? Like, so
Yeah.
universal. I mean, I think about that a lot, I guess. Um, trying to do something in alignment with nature, because we are
Mhm.
nature. You can't divorce yourself from the very thing that we are, even though
Yeah.
we have, and that's why we're destroying it, but therefore we are destroying ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an interesting conundrum of being. Also, I think, so that realization, and also for me as an artist, I can't ever improve upon. I'm just, again, looking outside my window and like I'm seeing a bird fly by, or the hawks, or this beautiful pine tree. I go down to my garden a lot. I can't improve upon nature. And human beings already, in their natural aspect of being who we are, is enough art. It's
Yes.
not so much about making something. It's really how we show up into the world, and how we
Right.
having a conversation, or saying hello to somebody, or, oh, I'm going to get, you know, saying hello to a homeless person, or giving that person money because that person is treated like an outcast, even though they're a human being, or, just asking somebody how their day is at the Starbucks, or interfacing with somebody in a way in which human beings are really desiring connection, but people are so scared to do. So I think for me, in many ways, to be honest, I'm really feeling the feelings. If
Yeah.
I look at my life, it's really these tiny moments that are have made the biggest impression on my life. It's not the big shit.
Yeah.
There's this thing about legacy and what we're leaving behind. Nobody's leaving anything behind. It's all going to be a layer in the sediment of,
Yeah.
like, rows and rows of sediment that goes deep as the dinosaur times. It's all dust and ash. There is no legacy. That's a construct of the ego. And also, we do it. I'm not saying that we shouldn't strive to leave something good. That's
Mhm.
not the point about I think legacy is a capitalist co-option. They've co-opted that word to
Yeah.
mean amassing something. And but I don't think what we leave behind is how we make people feel. So I think that's my answer to, like, what it maybe means to be an artist in this juncture. But maybe it's always been that way.
Yeah.
We look at people who lived through the bubonic plague, or you look at the ravages of history, you
Yeah.
know? So I think, and we're really blessed to be alive at this time, even though it seems to be like a shit show. We have
Absolutely.
access to things and health and technology that no other time in civilization
Mhm.
has ever had the privilege of living.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think I think it's just being aware of that. And yeah, did I answer the question?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And you reminded me of really the most important thing is we're here for each other, and our feelings, our hearts are all connected no matter what we're doing. So coming into that heart space again is also why I wanted to do this podcast and hear from just people that I think are amazing who are doing that in their life in unique ways. And, that's again why I didn't want to chase this dream in that way, because I would walk by people, even my own family, and I would just see things that they were struggling or people were indifferent. And I'm like, how can I pursue something to be on top or have attention on me when like people need me right now, right here? And I couldn't steer away from that. And I'm so proud and grateful that I've always followed my heart. And that has led me to being who I am now, which makes me excited to create, but I don't feel like there's anything I need to prove. And I think that is like the place to land, and it's a journey still. We're always evolving. And I love what you said about
Absolutely.
the legacy. I think you're so right. What if it's just about our fulfillment and our experience and how fully we experience it here with each other?
Yeah, just being here now, right?
Yeah.
And it's not about the stuff, I guess, is the thing that we just keep forgetting in a culture that makes us feel like my happiness is in something else, but it's inherent to who we are as human beings. It's inside, right?
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it's actually through service. It's actually through heart-centered work. And again,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean I just will say in closing, like whoever's listening, like go after your dreams and be a mad, wonderful, beautiful, famous success. Like it's whatever is uh, a fire inside you that you
Yeah.
feel compelled to go out and go after, do it. I feel like as you progress on your journey, you'll be able to, I don't know, I think the artistry will be formed out of it no matter where you are on your journey.
Mhm.
That's what being a real artist is about. It's
Yeah.
forged by you continuing to be brave on walking your path.
Yeah.
That's why we're all
Absolutely.
artists, we really are. Even with people you don't necessarily agree with, in a way. Just to be human is an insane undertaking. Half the time I'm like, get me out of here. You know what I
It's
mean?
crazy. It
It's
is
crazy.
crazy. I
So just
know.
to be on that journey and to want to express art is what a beautiful gift. So just keep on.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're all learning from each other too. And I think if we keep learning, if we keep curious, then we'll always find fulfillment, we'll always find inspiration, we'll always, we'll land in that space of what it means to be human and what it means to be an artist. And we're very blessed to be here. So I love that. Thank you.
Thanks, Chelsea, for having me.
Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to share about your books, your work, for people who want to connect with you?
I mean, it's really nice. I mean, I'm on the gram, even though I wish I weren't. But I mean, I just post political things and whatever, nature things. And, I give lessons because I think it's helpful. People are always very sweet and are like, oh, that message really helped. But I'm on the Instagram at Anthony Meindl. Also, we have at AMAW Studios pretty much in every city. So you can always go on there to find the actual, like London or Vancouver or wherever. And I have 6 books if you're interested in reading. Unstuck is one of them, right? That's a
So
good
good.
shout out there. Also, at Left Brain Turn Right and Book the Fucking Job. So, I think they're really for artists and creativity, not just for actors. So hopefully, you'll read them. And I love to hear from people. So you can always DM me. I'm always here to help give advice or, help in any way I can. I really do
Yeah.
try to help.
Amazing. You truly are the best, and your videos
Thanks,
are the
Chelsea.
best. You
Thank
bring
you.
so much light to my life. So thank you for bringing it to
Thank
this
you.
podcast and for this beautiful conversation. I'm so grateful for you.
Thanks, Chelsea.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Bridge. You are so valued and appreciated here, and I hope it helped bring light, love, clarity, and healing to your journey of remembering who you are. If you'd like to share feedback, have questions, want to collaborate, or request for a specific guest or episode topic, you can email us at the email below. To connect with us on socials or to work with me one-on-one, you can head to the social medias in the description below. If you'd like to donate to support our mission to share love, peace, and unity on this planet, you will find a link for that as well. You can always reach out via email to ask us how you can support what we are currently doing in the world. If there is someone you feel inspired to directly support, please let us know and we will share their story in one of our episodes. Remember, Together, we are better and truly can do so much. Now it's that time. Go live this new wisdom you received here in your life. Share it, integrate it, pass it on. Your ripples are powerful and needed, and you have a unique way of sharing and being that only you can be. As always, take what resonates for you and leave the rest. You are sovereign. You are the magic wand. You are the bridge to experiencing the world that you want. You are the conductor of your destiny. See it, choose it, speak it, feel it, believe it, know it, and go be it. Remember, it always starts with you. The universe is always on your side, and you are infinite. One love, and we'll see you in the next one.